Hi, my name is Dan Pace. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of First Financial Leasing and Finance. We were established in 1997 for the purpose of facilitating small business owners to open a startup business or to facilitate their existing business. We primarily loan SBA packages anywhere in the amounts of $20,000 up to $5 million. Once again, we are geared more towards small business. We're considered an industrial lender. We work with over 15 different banks across the United States, anywhere from being an FDIC to an industrial bank to a non-commercial lender. Our success ratio has been extremely high for the industry. Currently, just in the year 2015, we are at 98% approval. It's a wonderful thing that we do. We understand how to package loans for people. We talk to them. We find out what their needs and wants are. What do they want the money for? How do they want to use it? What's the term they're looking for to pay it off in? How is the business set up? And then we package the loan. We take all the essential information that's needed and we put it together and we submit and underwrite so we know ahead of time if you can be approved. So it's a wonderful thing. I would like everybody to look through the next series of probably could be anywhere from 7 to 10 videos that we're going to do with all the different types of programs. Today, my job is basically to explain what First Financial does and to go into the myths of SBA financing and the most frequently asked questions where people get confused of what the SBA is. It's not a difficult process for people. It's actually a very simple process. There is a lot of paperwork. There is no doubt about it. But for a startup or an existing business to go out and borrow money at very low rates over a 10-year period of time, if we're just talking about working capital or equipment, is astounding. It's the best way to positive cash flow your business and to create a win-win for you and the bank in the future to borrow more and more money and build and establish your business for you. So with that being said, I'm only going to take a few minutes. I know everybody gets a little bored when they watch things. So I'm going to go in and explain a few things to you. The first is, question one that I get most frequently is, when is the SBA going to fund my loan? First of all, the Small Business Administration is not loaning the money to you as the client. The SBA is our government, our federal government, which guarantees the loan to the lending institutions. There are a variety of different kinds, as I've stated a few minutes ago, or actually a few seconds ago, and they run anywhere from an FDIC insured bank to an industrial bank to just a specific lender who is approved to loan money under the SBA guidelines. Very stringent to be able to get set up and do that. But the fallacy is, and I take 100 calls a month where people think that the government is loaning the money. The government is not. All they're doing is backing your loan. And they give banks certain dollar amounts on certain type of loans. And that could be anywhere from an express loan to an SLA2 loan, to a 7A, to a 504. Excuse me. Those loans vary. Express loans, you'll learn in our upcoming videos, are very small, 25 to 150,000. Our SLA2 programs run from 151 to $500,000. Our 7As run from anything from 501 up until $5 million. And our 504s, which are primarily for construction and equipment, run up from the balance to $10 million. Now, with that being said, everybody still has the same questions, and I'm going to use a little bit of paperwork here and put my glasses on because it's hard for me to see. So, with that being stated, one question we already have. The next one is where can I get an SBA loan? That's the most simplest one of all, but it is not in the long run, because here's what happens. The individual person, be it in business or not, they'll have a mortgage, they'll have a car payment at a traditional bank or any bank. They want to open a business. It's a startup, for example, or it could be an existing business. They go to their local bank because that's where they have their deposits. That's where the money's at. And the bank turns them down. And they think that there's no way to possibly get another dime for whatever they want to do. And that is not necessarily true. It's only because of where you're talking to the people. The people that you go in to see do not understand. There are loan officers who do mortgages for people. They don't know how to open up a startup business. They don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about existing businesses other than the fact that you may have your checking account there or your credit cards there, and banks survive on what's called retail business, and that is specifically retail business. So there are many institutions out there, from community banks to lending banks to all these different sources that provide money to businesses that aren't really known to the business or to the startup person without somebody, for an example, like First Financial, because we have all those sources to look at all the different needs to fit you into the box. So that's one of the big questions. The features of an SBA loan is where people make a fallacy of it is most of the time their questions are, well, what does the SBA do? How does it actually work? And it's very simplistic. The government backs the loan, the bank approves the loan via, depending on what type it may be. It could be an express loan where there's really no collateral needed, and that's up to 150, obviously. As soon as you start going over the 150 mark, there is collateral. By collateral, what I mean is we're going to look at real property. We're going to look at your home. We're going to look at any real estate you may have. We do not want your stocks. We do not want your bonds. We don't want your firstborn children, believe it or not. We want the basic stuff to collateralize the loan that makes sense. Under SBA guidelines, you must take it if it's available. So that's where the collateral and eligibility parts come in. We look for credit. People ask me, well, what's my credit have to be? There is no set credit score number. If we were to justify something, I would say Experian is 680. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it is. There's stories and solutions to everything when you look at these loans. It's really a factor of what type of business. The next thing that comes into play is, is SBA eligible for every type of business? And the answer to that is absolutely not. There are restricted industries. I'm not going to get into the list. We can eventually give a list to you if you would like, but it's, there's certain industries that they just will not back or do it, and we will go through those eventually in part of the series that we will handle. How long does it take to fund it? How long does it take to get approved? A traditional SBA loan, anything from an express up to a 504, once we've collected all the paperwork that's needed and the financial information, normally can take anywhere from 2 to 14 business days to be approved, to physically have a hard copy in your hands. From that point, you decide if you want to move forward. If you do, you sign off on the documents, you forward it over to us. We place you with what's called a closing officer, and the closing officer starts to work on your checklist to close the loan. Standard loans, express loans, would normally close anywhere from 15 to 30 days. Anything above that, if there's collateral involved, which usually there is, would probably take anywhere from 45 to 60 days, depending on the industry if there's build out and certain things involved. So it doesn't take that much to get these things through. The next big factor comes in is maturity. These notes, if there's non-real estate involved, they're all written for a 10-year period of time. So you have 10 years with no prepayment penalty to borrow anything from $25,000 to $10 million, depending on what you want to do and what you're going to use the money for. By no prepayment penalty, what I mean is if it's a 10-year note and you decide to pay it off in 3 years, we minus the interest, and that's what your payment is. That's what you pay us off, and your loan is off the books, and you're good to go. The next thing that we run into is SBA is a unique product. It's what we call off the balance sheet accounting. Although you do sign personally, there is no doubt about it, and if your spouse is on it, your spouse is going to sign personally as well. It never appears on your personal credit as a liability. It's off the balance sheet. It will appear on your business credit. The only time it would come on is if you defaulted on the loan. So it still gives you the availability to borrow funds, period. To buy a house, to get a car, to get another credit card, to do whatever you would want to do. It doesn't hamper you in that aspect. And a lot of people don't understand it. And that's the best thing. Now you can. Interest rates on SBA loans, depending on the product, can run anywhere from 4.5% up to 6.79%. We are fixed under SBA guidelines, and we can only charge what we can. Obviously, if you're buying a $5 million property, your rate is going to be better and your term is going to be better. It's no longer that 10-year term. It's an amortization over 25 or 30 years, and your rate will be better. If you're doing something where we're going to do build out for you and working capital and finance your equipment, it'll be a 10-year term, and your rate will be a little bit higher depending on if you're a startup or time in business. But a rule of thumb is anywhere from 4.5% to 6.9%. You know where you're going to be. These are just a few of the many questions I get. I get an average of, when I did my checklist today, 63 different questions that people ask me. We would be willing here to post these and do anything you need to do on frequently asked questions within our website. But I wanted to take some time today to at least give you the basics on how everything works. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call First Financial. Thank you.